Have you been feeling off lately? Not in a bad way exactly, but like something is shifting. Like you're not the same person you were a few months ago, and the things that used to feel normal don't anymore. Maybe you've been pulling back from certain people. Maybe conversations that once felt easy now feel draining. Maybe you've started craving something deeper, even if you can't fully explain what that means yet. If that sounds familiar, it might not be random. It might actually mean you're getting closer to real love. And I know that sounds strange, because when people think about love, they imagine excitement, chemistry, something obvious. They don't think about distance, or discomfort, or change. But real love doesn't just show up out of nowhere. It usually comes after a shift, a quiet one, where you start seeing things differently, where you begin to outgrow patterns that used to feel familiar. And at first, that can feel confusing, because what used to attract you doesn't hit the same anymore. The conversations feel shallow, the inconsistency feels exhausting, the emotional unavailability becomes obvious. And instead of chasing it, you start stepping back. Not because you've given up, but because something in you is changing. You're starting to recognize what doesn't work for you. And that awareness, that's a big deal. Because before real love shows up, you usually lose interest in what's not aligned with it. You stop entertaining things that don't feel right. You stop forcing connections that require you to overthink everything. You start choosing peace over temporary excitement. And yes, that can feel lonely sometimes, because now you're not settling, but you also haven't found what you're looking for yet. So you're in this in-between space, where nothing really fits, where you're not going back, but you're not fully there yet either. And that space, that's where most people start doubting themselves. They think, maybe I'm being too picky. Maybe I'm expecting too much. Maybe I should just go back to what I'm used to. But if you're feeling that pull to not go backwards, that's important, because it means you've grown. And growth changes what you're available for. It raises your standards, not in a superficial way, but in an emotional one. You start wanting consistency, clarity, effort that feels mutual. Not just someone who makes you feel something, but someone who can actually hold something real with you. And that kind of love, it requires you to be different, more aware, more intentional, more honest with yourself. Which is why, before it shows up, you go through this phase of realignment, where you let go of what doesn't feel right, even if you don't fully understand what's coming next. And I know that part isn't easy, because letting go of familiarity, even when it's not good for you, still feels uncomfortable. But staying in that space just because it's known keeps you stuck. And something in you knows that now. That's why you've been feeling different. That's why certain things don't sit right anymore. That's why you're starting to choose yourself in ways you didn't before. It's not random. It's preparation. Because real love doesn't just depend on who you meet. It depends on who you are when you meet them. And if you were still in old patterns, you might not even recognize it. Or worse, you might push it away because it feels unfamiliar. But now, you're becoming someone who can receive it. Someone who doesn't chase confusion. Someone who doesn't ignore red flags. Someone who doesn't settle just because something feels good in the moment. And that shift is what makes space for something real. So if you've been feeling a little out of place, a little disconnected from what used to feel normal, don't rush to fix it. Don't go back just to feel comfortable again. Sit with it. Because sometimes that uncomfortable space is exactly where everything starts to change. And maybe it's not that something is missing. maybe you're just getting closer to something that actually fits. So, do you believe our emotions can signal that someone special is about to enter our life? I'm waiting for your answer in the comments.